Now at 10:30, thieves caught on camera in the act stealing a fire hydrant for some quick cash, but causing thousands in damage. It is a crime that's been happening all over Southern California.
So on this channel, we have covered the disaster that has been the California wildfires. We've also talked about a bunch of different policies, woke criminal justice policies that significantly made crime worse across the state and a bunch of major cities. And the perfect intersection of these 2 points, of these 2 ideas, is the fact that in California, specifically in Southern California, we are seeing a lot of fire hydrant theft. And by the way, these crimes, according to this particular report, should actually be pretty easy for the police to intervene with, because a lot of these thieves are doing this in broad daylight where people can see. They call it in, and it takes them a little bit under 30 minutes in order to get the fire hydrant off of this particular thing. However, in addition to the fact that these were being stolen, you had Prop 47. Now, as I said, a lot of people mistakenly focus on the $950 threshold, where if you steal anything under that, that is considered a misdemeanor. But what's more crucial is that the police could not initiate an arrest against you for misdemeanor unless they personally witnessed it. So you have all these different people that are stealing these hydrants that, in terms of the scrap metal, are worth less than that $950 threshold. They cannot actually be arrested or held accountable due to the fact that the police don't physically witness it. And in addition to that, it ends up causing thousands upon thousands of dollars worth of damage for the state of California, because even though its value as a hydrant is less than $950, the crew to install the new one and all the different things, when they damage it in the removal, end up costing the city significantly more money, or the state, or whoever is managing this particular hydrant. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we do, I will remind you that on February 15th and 16th of this year, which is a short time away from when I'm releasing this video, DebateCon 5 is happening in Newark, New Jersey. I will be debating there. Link to tickets in the top of the description. If you can make it, I'd love to see you there.
Now at 10:30, thieves caught on camera in the act stealing a fire hydrant for some quick cash.
So first of all, I question whether or not it's actually stealing something for quick cash when it takes 2 individuals around 30 minutes to remove this fire hydrant in order to bring it to a scrapyard in order to sell it at said scrapyard. But I do find it absolutely hilarious, first and foremost, that these scrapyards are buying fire hydrants. You would think if you're looking for scrap metal, it might be a little bit suspicious that the shadiest 2 individuals of all time show up at your place with a fire hydrant that is colored the way that your municipality fire hydrants happen to be covered. But apparently that is nothing to worry about, nothing to see here, and this is just a common occurrence that we've covered time and time again in the state of California, and again, for a long time. And we'll see how the repeal of Prop 47 ends up interacting with this type of crime. We have seen very little punishment, very little consequences for these actions, and that has left a place that is already vulnerable to fire more vulnerable because damn fire hydrants are gone.
Been happening all over Southern California. Thieves stealing fire hydrants for the scrap metal, but the cost of the crime is much higher.
Micah and Cher, we have some really clear video of the thieves to show you. This is costing local cities thousands of dollars in replacement costs, but more importantly, it's putting a lot of people at fire risk. With a crowbar and a sledgehammer, the thieves go to work. For more than 25 minutes, they struggle to wiggle the bolts, then snap off a fire hydrant.
Now, one of the things that needs to be emphasized over and over again to all the people who say that the real way to address criminality is to address the material conditions and whatnot is the fact that these criminals, through their theft, through their property crime, through not even stealing from individuals, but through their theft from the city, from the municipality, are putting people in significant danger. Now, we already know in the Pacific Palisades fire, we had a situation where the reservoir was empty, thus there was less water pressure in the hydrants, thus they ran out of water significantly sooner than they would have, and that maximized the damage in that area. But imagine you're a firefighter during a crazy wildfire season where you've lost a bunch of different properties. You go to tap the hydrant and it's gone. It's been completely removed because these scumbags ended up stealing it again for the scrap metal. And then some left-wing activists some absolute doofus says, well, you can't arrest that individual who's stolen fire hydrants over and over and over again, who obviously has a system for stealing and selling it. What you need to do is address the underlying conditions. Go after the root cause. Figure out why they're stealing that fire hydrant, because I'm absolutely certain if you do that, what you'll find out is that they're actually innocent Baba Angel Aladdins just trying to feed their starving family that scrap metal. And to me, this is an absurdity on top of an absurdity. So it would be good if we actually had some changes in the law that said not only is the value of the property, like the tangible value of it, going to go into whether or not we're going to charge you with a felony, but in addition to that, the damage that you actually inflict upon the area is also going to be factored in. I mean, think about it. If somebody breaks into a store, smashes a display, and grabs something with $800 out of said display and then runs away, why should that be a misdemeanor if the glass that they broke but didn't take ends up costing $1,000 to repair? Obviously, that's $1,800 worth of losses for the business, and it should be charged as such. In addition to that, you should obviously have more strict rules when it comes to critical infrastructure. We've done stories in Oakland of them stealing the copper wire out of where they have the traffic lights, so then the lights go out and it creates a dangerous environment. And the solution that they had was, hey, we're just going to replace this with a stop sign because we can't actually function like a normal city and have lights in the area so people can see the red light or green light, because that would just be far too sensible. Now, again, the value of the copper wire itself that was removed is not going to hit that over $950, but traffic lights and electricity are critical infrastructure, and you shouldn't have to deal with the fact that you can only charge these people with misdemeanors in the state of California, which for the longest time meant you might as well charge them with nothing, if you're actually dealing with critical infrastructure failures, brownouts, and all these other things that we've seen across the state, which, by the way, has the 8th largest economy in the world, and they can't even get things straight like electricity. They can't even get things straight like prosecuting people for blacking out an entire neighborhood. You're causing so much more damage, and again, the limits of Prop 47 were so absurd that unless the police officer saw you take the hydrant, unless the police officer saw you take the copper wire, you weren't actually eligible for an arrest. It's absolutely crazy, and again, this is before we even get to the woke district attorneys who weren't prosecuting anyone for anything.
I called the police and I said, if you come out now, you'd be able to catch them. 30 minutes later, they grabbed the hydrant, took off, and then the police show up.
6 o'clock Sunday morning, two thieves in a white pickup truck pulled up outside a corner bar on 2nd Street in Pomona. As business owner Carlos Chavez watched his security cameras, the thieves went to work and then got away.
So I hate the fact that A, they're blurring the license plate of the criminals that are actually stealing this fire hydrant right here, but in addition to that, we also see a consequence of another Democratic policy, defunding the police. The cuts in funding, even if they were restored later, resulted in a shortage of officers. When you have a shortage of officers, you have to prioritize certain things, and I've seen this, and I've heard stories about this in the city of New York, where you call in, you have a complaint about something, and they can't send an officer out at that moment in time due to the fact that they're short-staffed, and it would just cost too much money. And again, you're having to pay overtime for officers because you have fewer of them, so you actually don't even successfully achieve the goal of defunding the police because you're just paying more money, or at least equivalent money, in terms of overtime. Again, we did a story about a traffic accident thing that was clearly staged as a scam that was caught on dash cam, and one of the reasons why there was an arrest made at the scene is because the NYPD cannot send out an officer or a unit unless there's an actual injury, even though there was clear criminality in that particular story. So you have something similar right here, where it takes forever for the officers to get out to the scene. They would have been able to catch this person, and instead of making the arrest of these criminals, what you ultimately end up with is that the police have to then track down those criminals, but the city has to spend thousands of dollars on materials and labor in order to replace this fire hydrant, and if they don't do it in time, guess what? A fire could sweep in at any moment and destroy this area.
It's frustrating. I mean, the fire department needs their equipment, and for common thieves to come around and just take their equipment is ridiculous.
Now, by the way, this is a perfect distillation of normal people versus the progressive left. This guy is not a crazy radical or anything of the sort, but he understands that these thieves are making the city more vulnerable, making his neighborhood more vulnerable, and obviously he has a problem with that. And he's also aware of the fact that firefighters need these hydrants in order to tap water in order to save and help the community. But guess what? You can't have nice things in the state of California. You just have to deal with rampant theft of fire hydrants after rampant theft of fire hydrants because the innocent Beba Angel Aladdins need that scrap metal in order to feed their starving family, according to the left wing. This is why oftentimes these soft on crime beliefs are described as luxury beliefs, because they don't have to deal with the consequences of this. They probably live in a better neighborhood than this Pomona area where this occurred. They probably can afford, if they're Kim Kardashian, a well-known woke criminal justice activist, to hire private firefighters like she did in order to protect her own home, as she advocates for the release of repeat offenders, the soft on crime district attorneys, time and time again. These people never experience the consequences of what they advocate for, and it's absolutely devastating.
That theft, part of a larger problem across South LA and surrounding communities, thieves leaving holes in the ground, hauling off hydrants to sell them as scrap metal. More than 60 stolen in Pomona in just the past 4 months.
60 fire hydrants stolen in the city of Pomona in the last 4 months. And you guys know California, their rules and regulations require them to move incredibly slow. So I am certain that of the 60 that were stolen, maybe one was replaced in the 4-month time period that we're talking about. Again, it's so frustrating for these people to have to deal with this. This problem has gone on for years, but we're only talking about 4 months and them losing a significant portion of their fire hydrants. Now, I don't know exactly how many they have, but you can't tell me that this is not increasing the fire risk, and the idea that soft on crime is not a problem and doesn't have crazy downstream impacts is not represented right here. 60 hydrants in just the last 4 months. 60 hydrants. 60.
It is frustrating for our department, and this is something that's not only happening in the city of Pomona, but it is also happening in the surrounding cities as well.
Now we're seeing a bunch of other videos right there where all that water is spraying out in the area. Again, remember what we learned about the Pacific Palisades fire, where they had just 3 1 million gallon tanks instead of the 117 million gallon reservoir, because that was empty due to the fact that it took Los Angeles over a year, or nearly a year, to not even start on the repair of a cover that should have taken a week. Well, right here, you see them wasting the water again. You could experience a fire at any moment in the state of California. That can be devastating. The water's just dumping into the streets. And what we find out, like I said earlier on in the video, is that even though this costs the city thousands upon thousands of dollars per hydrant, they only sell it because of the weight of the metal for about $100.
Police say the thieves sell the hydrants for about $100, but it can cost municipalities up to $5,000 to replace a single hydrant. Pomona police now studying this security video shared with KTLA, but so far, no arrest.
This is just sad. This is just pathetic. And remember, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, sides with the criminal over the law-abiding citizens, over these city representatives that have to lay out $5,000 per fire hydrant because he was the champion of Prop 47. We did an entire video about how behind the scenes they were trying to kill the repeal of Prop 47, which again classifies this theft, which is valued because of the metal, at $100 as a misdemeanor, and in addition to that, makes it impossible for a police officer to initiate an arrest unless they witness the theft of the hydrant themselves firsthand. And Gavin Newsom was trying to kill the repeal of that, not because he believed that Prop 47 was a great law, but because he didn't want his legacy tarnished by a defeat. What we found out through those messages is that he was perfectly fine with that appearing on the 2026 ballot because he would be ineligible to run for governor, and you wouldn't be able to tie that to him as much as the repeal did in 2024. That's what these people put over the safety of these communities. That's what these people think about rather than you and your family in the state of California, and it's absolutely shameful. Now again, the repeal of Prop 47 is real. Prop 36 is in effect, and maybe, just maybe, we'll see some damn consequences to these actions, and that will deter this from going forward. But make no mistake about it, it's not just Pomona, California, it's all these different areas in the state of California California, specifically a lot of them in Southern California, where the fire risk is most severe. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts, so let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me in my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about a disaster in Southern California waiting to happen. Till next time.